Hello, everyone. Also, hello to the audience online watching this video in the future once it is uploaded. I think we can slowly start. I know it's a little bit of an unfortunate time slot right after the party in the morning, so I hope nobody's hungover, nobody's too tired, but we're going to make it. We will do our best to make it as enjoyable as possible. So, welcome. Welcome to Megascans Vegetation. What's new and what's next? The what's next part, I think hopefully everybody has seen in the keynotes. Really impressive demo by CDPR, and I'm really happy that we got a lot of momentum into rendering foliage. But for this talk, we want to do a step back and explain you the features that we have already integrated into Fab that you can play around with right now. We don't want to tease you with something that you see here that looks fancy, that's really amazing, but you can't actually use it at the moment. So we are very sure that there will be another talk later this year that will cover all of that. Q&A, there is so much we want to showcase, so there won't be any time for Q&A during the talk. We will be at the floor later after the talk, but we will also be at the Dev Hub, I guess, till the end of Unreal Fest, and we will make sure to answer all of your questions, everything regarding plants, regarding trees, regarding foliage. We will definitely not answer any questions regarding rocks. They're fairly boring. They're just there on the floor. They don't move in the wind. They don't have any seasons. But luckily, we have Richard with us, our lead pipeline developer, who will answer all of these questions for you at the booth. Quick question before we start. Who has ever used Megascans or like our plants in a project or in whatever demo? That seems like pretty much everyone. That makes me very happy. And who did notice that we did like a big update on a lot of technical things when we shipped Fab? That doesn't make me happy at all. But that's the reason why we do the talk. We want to showcase you what the team was working on and what you can expect in the future. So quickly to us. I'm Niels. I'm from Germany. I'm a technical artist out here at Epic Games. I do nothing else in my professional career than working on vegetation, from scanning them, profiling them in engine, reworking them again, doing scan tech. Basically, a lot of vegetation stuff. Some people say isn't that boring? It's not really boring. It's very challenging. It's very exciting, often quite frustrating from time to time, but it's definitely a good challenge. I started as a content creator on the Unreal Engine marketplace, and now I'm here with Epic. And I have actually never made a tree or a plant for the Megascans library. And with that, I'd quickly like to hand it over to my dear colleague, Simon.
Yep, so I'm Simon Barley. I'm the lead vegetation artist over at Quixel. I also spent the majority of my career working on vegetation for games. Last 10 plus years. Not as much to say about me, really. Always enjoy working on nature content, and I like the challenge that it brings and all the things we need to solve for it. So let's jump in. So the agenda today, we will cover a few things that we will updated for Fab. There will be some general updates to the content. We will break it down by features, so geometry updates and some shader updates. We'll also have a live demo. We'll put some of this into practice. And there will be a quick outro. We'll just discuss some of the coming topics later this year. So, why did we rework the Megascans plant library? Moving on to a new platform gave us kind of the opportunity to generally update the whole library, since it's well over 6+ years old at this point. So we wanted to unify all the assets. It wasn't easy, but the timing made a lot of sense. It's a bit more on the whys. We wanted to make it easier to use. We wanted to increase the customizability, easier scalability across platforms, and better adaptation into environments or ecosystems. And lastly, taking more advantage of the recent updates to Nanite. Which brings us to what is new on the Megascans plant library on Fab. So we have added a dedicated Nanite tier which doesn't use opacity masks and is full geometry. Why is this important? It gives us faster rendering because masked materials slows down Nanite performance quite a lot. We're also able to put in more detail into the assets than before, so it gives us a bit more botanical correctness than before. We can work away some of the more kind of cardy appearances by going full geometry as well. That's a big plus. The major downside, though, is that the higher disk footprint and memory. But as we've seen in the keynote, we're working on solutions to that as well. In some cases, less is more. We've done a pass on all the asset packs and removed some redundancies. It's optimized the general ease of use and make the packs more manageable overall. So it's going to less volume per pack, but we're hoping to bring more variety in the future faster by doing this. There's also new and updated vertex colors for all the assets. Like I mentioned, we had several years of different standards and approaches throughout the whole process. This gave us a good opportunity to actually unify everything and make sure everything is kind of brought to the same framework. We will cover some of these in more detail in the live demo, but in short, we have 4 vertex color channels. They all have different data that we can use in the shader. It's a very nice statement there. As most of us know, making foliage is pretty challenging. Often the last 20% of making the plants is kind of taking you maybe 80% of the time to get to the final pixels. But the following features we'll be showing you, please feel free to use them on your own content to kind of help you get to those last steps. So diving into the material stuff. Clicker. The library's got an upgrade to the wind shader. This is not skeletal wind though, this is the WPO solution we have, so you can consider this being more a mid to low-end solution for now as we work on the skeletal meshes. But we added more detail in the primary and the secondary wind. We will also dive a bit further into this, how to control this in the demo. Like I mentioned, we'll also be sharing more information about skeletal foliage as we move forward. Plants now also feature a health system. So you can dynamically in the world degrade your plants. It can work globally, it can work per instance, also per part of the plant as well. And all material properties are hooked up to this effect. So as you see, as the plant decays further, roughness and other material properties also changes. Collaboration can also work on a global scale, per instance, and a per piece level as well. As a plant goes through different growth stages, there can be quite a distinct color shift in a plant as well. So we have added a growth effect to kind of mimic this. It gives you a way to tint the color based on the height of the plant and its outer extremities. And as you all probably have seen, a lot of leaves have different colors on the underside and the top side. So we made a quick solution for this as well, very easy to use. You can tint both the back and the front, and it also works across all the material properties. The color tinting can operate on stems and leaves separately using a mask, which we'll cover more in the live demo. But here you can see us playing around a bit, changing the colors of different parts of the plants. On top of a reworked quality tier for the meshes, we have also put in new features to the shader. You can also toggle on and off based on scalability needs. So you can basically cherry pick what you need in your shader, toggle on and off, and gonna help doing more scalability across platforms that way. And the good thing is, all these features are set by default by the team, so they come supplied to you on Fab. So how do we then control all these features? We have a global foliage actor that comes with the Fab content. This one houses some of the high-level art direction parameters you want to access globally, like wind, both strength and the speed. Also, you can control trees and plants separately. And also control the health parameters and even drive the global color variation. All in one-stop shop. This is an example of us playing around with the foliage actor a bit. You can rotate it around, and it'll kind of respond and change the wind direction in the world as well. Yeah, without further ado, let's start a live demo.
I think so. Boot it up. So in the live demo, we thought like, I'm going to be the one presenting everything, and Simon's going to be the technical artist, and I do the tech art. So we just switch our roles, make things more enjoyable for us. So in this little level, we have added the global foliage actor and a bunch of assets that we have made for our library, which is small plants, but also trees. Everything is linked up in the global foliage actor, and if you want to change the behavior, you can simply play around with the health slider, for example, and you can reduce the health of all of the plants that are present in the scene. Makes it really easy for you to not go into every single material instance, tweak the values there. It's just a little bit more convenient to do all of these changes in one big actor. So I would just give Simon a little bit of time to just fly around, do some art stuff, while you can enjoy the view of this level. We will break down the health system a little bit more in detail later on when I go into the more technical part. So this is more the very artistic kind of representation of our work, so make sure to enjoy the eye candy. What we also have as a global thing is wind. We have split them up into the controls for the trees and the controls for the plants. That's the feedback we got from our artist, and I hope that's also the feedback that we get from you. Sometimes you want to adjust it as one global thing. Sometimes it's just better to just have the whole foliage listen to just one parameter and the trees to another setting. So we can play around with the wind, we can rotate it, everything will listen to this little actor. We can change the speed, the strength, noise, and yeah, all of these different settings. Obviously, most of the things that we're going to showcase to you in this demo is a little bit too much. You would also like not have this much wind in this kind of little scene. But for showcasing purposes, we will bump up all the values quite a lot. Makes it easier for you, I think, to follow whatever we have implemented. Okay, Simon, I think we can quickly jump to level 2, which will be the start of breaking down the tech a little bit. Quick note, we will jump in between unlit and lit mode. Makes it easier to understand a few features, especially the more technical things. I work in unlit mode 90% of my time, and the 10% I just enjoy the view, but I think for everything technical, working in unlit is always kind of the key to do. So, vertex color red. We decided to have quite a lot of different new vertex color channels added. Why? Because I need them as a technical artist to make the features that we use in the shader. That means, for example, here we use vertex color red as a gradient for the wind, because I don't want to have any wind on the stems. I also made a function to mask out the stems. And in the end, this is a feature that will kind of have a gradient inside of the leaf from where it's attached to the plant to the tip of the plant. And all the branches are fairly dark. And with that, we can go over to the next vertex color, to the green vertex color. Fairly simple. Every single component of a plant has a different vertex color or different float value attached to it. Makes it really nice to have randomization for wind effects, to offset kind of animations, or to use if you want to do some color separation, or yeah, quite a lot of features. The next part would be vertex color blue. A quick note, some of these features you can implement procedurally. Some of them you should maybe think about having them in vertex colors. Vertex colors will rarely break. For example, if you want to have the height of an object and you place it and then it's an actor and you convert it to an instance and then it's a lot of instances, in the end you might break things. Vertex color, really hard to break because you have all the information already baked in. And it's, I wouldn't say free, but it's really cheap compared to whatever nanite trees or plants we're currently working in. So back to the vertex color blue. Simon, if you go a little bit closer to the plant we have on the left, which is the small balsam, you see that every seed or every individual plant has a different vertex color or a different value. Really important if you, for example, want to offset the animation, that not the whole cluster as one moves, but rather every single component is offset slightly, makes it a little bit more realistic. You can use the same for color variation and for lots of other features. And with that, we can quickly jump to the last vertex color, which you can definitely set up procedurally, which is simply a gradient from root to top. And if you have a hanging plant, obviously inverted. And yeah, that's basically it from the vertex colors. Like I said, really important for a technical artist. If I want to make really cool features, I need to get the data from somewhere. And especially working with a lot of vertex color channels did help me to achieve that. So, Simon, let's jump into breaking down the wind implementation that we have. In general, especially currently with nanite meshes, it's really important to make WPO as cheap as possible. And because we know that skeleton animation will come in the future, for our product, for Fab, we have only focused on the lower end platforms. And we have also built a system where you can mix and match certain wind animations to make them look more realistic and that you can have them in a scalable world. So for example, we have the simplified wind, and here we only showcase the primary wind. Simon, let's go a little bit closer to the, yeah, that one. And maybe we bump up the speed or strength a little bit. So here you can see they, if you would see the global foliage actor, they move in a certain direction. They move 70% in the direction where we point the actor to, and then they kind of sway back 30% to have this kind of sway back effect. And they are all offset by this vertex color, so they don't move as a whole object, which would look a little bit unrealistic, but rather they are slightly offset in speed or time to make it a little bit more realistic. On top of that, we have added the secondary animation. For the secondary animation, like I said, these features are like bumped up far too high, but it makes it easier for you to understand what we have implemented there. You see the vertex color red, and you see that we only have this effect of this, well, we call it wobbling, on the outsides of the leaves. And we offset the animation frequency by vertex color, I think green, if we would see it. I'm very sure it's green. Sometimes I'm getting confused by all of these vertex color. I need to quickly check it in Engine, but this is vertex color green. So, with that being said, Simon, let's quickly just take a look at how the wind looks on these small assets. Yeah, in lit mode. You can go a little bit closer. That's fine. It's a good implementation, maybe. And like I said, far too much going on for these little plants. Additionally, we wanted to add something called simple wind, which is really based on the wind implementation that we have for our trees. Simon, I've prepared a little plane that you can find right under it. You can quickly lift it up. It really helps us to kind of understand what I'm talking about here. And you change the tiling. So we have something called wind gust map. It's basically just a noise map that is flowing around in the world. Everything that is in blue means you don't really have a lot of wind. Everything towards red has a lot of wind. I think it's very similar to these kind of fluid animations that show speed or compression. Really helps the artist sometimes to see the changes that you have in a big landscape, because you can just quickly assign this debug material to your landscape and you see like, okay, this is how they kind of flow. We've already reworked this feature, so there are a few updates coming later this year that kind of already elevate all of these little features to like a version 2. So you should use this, for example, on meadow. That means if you have like a nice grassy field, you just don't want to have like the simplified wind, just grass blades moving into random directions, but you want to have a direction. You want to have this gust. You want to see this rolling wave effect. And for that, Simon, let's quickly turn to the left. And there I've prepared a little bit of a breakdown. I mean, I made the level, so it is definitely not pretty at all. But I'm very sure that an artist, you understand the tech, and then you can make great art with it. But me as a technical artist is always a little bit harder to set these things up. If you set up the tiling to something like .5, Simon. 1, maybe. And you twist it so that the wind comes from either right or left. Yeah, I think there you can see it. We can reduce the tiling even or bump it up a little bit further to like 3. Yeah, we're getting there. So I guess everybody can imagine, like, now you have these gust maps that kind of, or these plants that follow these gusts. And you can make pretty cool things with this. Especially if you have big grass fields. And it's a super cheap animation. So for example, something we have implemented in the past with the trees, for example, using Pivot Painter 2 as a wind animation should definitely, or I would not recommend using it at the moment, because first of all, the new tech is coming soon. And second of all, the Pivot Painter, for example, is far too expensive to run on that amount of vertices that you have in a tree, especially if you have it as a pure nanite mesh. So I think that's it about wind. Make sure to always showcase whatever you do. If you have some really cool projects working on to showcase some of the features, make sure to let us know. And with that, let's quickly jump to level 3. Okay. Some of the feature that I use in close to all of the features is the branch mask. Often, for example, let's imagine you have an artist who wants to quickly tint the leaves of a tree, and they tint the leaves, and they obviously, because you have the branch cluster in that texture, they also tint the branches. And then the branches might not really fit to the tileable texture that you have in a tree. And for that, you need to have a branch mask. We generate this branch mask by using vertex color red. That was the first vertex color that I was showing. Simon, if you go in the yeah, let's quickly show it. It's really simple. You have an if statement, you have a threshold, you clamp it to either 1 or 2. And you can do this in many, many different ways. We use vertex colors because, well, we already have them. But if you don't have them, you can also use your translucency map. For example, branches are usually far darker compared to leaves. So you do the same thing, you have a threshold, and you have then a binary mask that you quickly generate out of your translucency. You can even take it further. Most of the, for example, tree or vegetation scans that you find, you can use the base color, and you can use the red channel of the base color, because the branches are usually more red, stems are usually more yellow, orange, something like that, and then you can quickly adjust and hack it together with that. We have this little tool, or you can actually debug our branch mask by, well, playing around with the parameter. And while I'm taking a sip of water, Simon can quickly showcase all of these features. So we have like a binary mask to really clamp it hard. For example, for trees, you want to really clamp it hard. But sometimes you have like smaller plants where you really might want to have a little bit of a gradient instead of a hard mask. And then it's really up to kind of the user or your plant what you want to do. Like Simon said, all of this is set up. So you don't need to do any of this. That's all set up by our artist. We decided, should it rather be like a binary or a gradient mask? I would say we show the next feature. What can you do with it? Here I prepared something really wonderful. Maybe let's go into lit mode so that everybody can appreciate the beauty of this plant. And maybe press G. Thank you. I'm really enjoying being an art director.
You enjoy it too much.
So how can you use this branch mask? We have like an advanced color tinting function that will allow you to tint leaves and stems separately. You can also change brightness and saturation and all of the basic features with it. Like I said, usually you shouldn't use that type of color, but sometimes artists want to push it a little bit further and really see what you can do with it. So, next feature. So, leaf backside tint. Some plants require that you have different colors on the front and on the backside. For example, this is an angel wing begonia, and yes, it looks like that in nature. You have seen it in Simon's part. We had like a little screenshot. If you have not seen it, we can Google it later on and just showcase that to you. So you definitely need that feature to make the plant botanically correct. And like our goal, like as Quixel, is like we want to make things as botanically correct as possible. So we quickly added this function to tint the backside of the leaves. And it's super simple to implement. Simon, show the algorithm quickly. It's basically just a lerp, and you, as the alpha, use the two-sided sign to quickly switch in between front and back-facing UVs. Downside, this works really nice with Nanite, but if you have like cards that you kind of stack in between, like the old boring way that we will not use anymore in the future, then obviously this function doesn't work. But we have Nanite now, so we are fairly safe. Something more realistic is this little blackberry here. And if you switch to unlit, some of these plants, like you don't need to implement that. Because usually you don't have people in your game crawling around on the floor, evaluating, is this actually right or is this wrong? And if you do so, feel free to hit us up. Then we see if you have a position for you. So that's a really important function for us, and a little bit kind of the scientific background to it. So leaves have different color values on the front and on the back side, but they also have different gloss values. The gloss values, and sorry to geek out a little bit, but it's a little bit important. All the leaves are covered in a wax layer, and this wax layer is there to reflect the sunlight from the leaves. Because otherwise, if you wouldn't have that wax layer, the leaf would just get too warm and completely die off, and it wouldn't be a plant anymore. And with this wax layer, the sun rays will simply be reflected. Where do you not need any of this wax layer? On the backside of the leaf. The same goes for the color. You have a lot of pigments to do photosynthesis. Yeah, that's a great English word. On the top side that faces the sun. On the back side, obviously, you don't have that many. That means all the leaves are more green on the front side. And I think in the meantime, Simon has already shown all of this. Like I said, you don't need to implement that. On some plants, it's really important or essential. On some of the plant, it's not that important. So, next feature would be the translucency. It's a little bit hard to see in this little demo. Maybe we've picked the wrong example here, but you can obviously use the branch mask to quickly adjust the translucency of either branches or your leaves. Sometimes you have scan data, and we have a lot of scan data, and sometimes the scan data is simply, it might be scientifically correct how we scan it, but it might not work in Unreal because it's not the way how it should be. So we quickly added this feature so you can play around with brightness and whatever you like. You can tint them slightly. Makes it a little bit easier for the artist to do really cool kind of translucent forest shots. And with that, let's quickly head over on the other side of the room to talk about health. You have seen it in the pretty part of the scene. If we go into the global foliage actor, you can play around with health, and all of the plants will go into like a worse looking stage all together. That's all set up for you. You don't need to do anything. You just need to play around with that slider, and I'm very sure everybody will be able to do that. When I'm implementing these features, one thing that's super important is that I don't want to lock them away for just Quixel content. So this function does only work with a base color input. So with the base color input, I somehow create this mask, and then you can basically copy and paste this function, the health function, to whatever material you have in your project, and it will work. And here I simply picked 2 or like 3, 4 random textures that we have on our Megascans library. There is no vertex color in it. And I just added the health and season function, and it works right out of the box without any adjustments. And it also seems like somebody lost a lemon down there, Simon. And it seems to be moldy. And it seems to be react to the health shader. Isn't that weird? And it also changes the size of the lemon by this health shader. So that's what a technical artist is doing in his free time when he looks at an asset, being like, can this actually work on a lemon? And then you quickly can. You just need like some kind of gradient in your asset. A lemon has different kind of yellow values all over the place. You quickly change the color from like going to brown instead of shifting it to brown, you shift it to some kind of green, blue mold color, and then it works out of the box. And another thing that I was really happy to work on and to implement is the change of roughness if you have an aging leaf. Because the wax layer that I was talking about earlier will disappear when you have a leaf aging. And there you can see it, that the glossy parts of this plant will completely disappear if you have adjusted health. Yeah, that's a good idea. And obviously, you don't need to activate all of these features. That's why we made it somewhat scalable. You can always mix and match our features. You don't need to use that. That's in 99% of the cases, you don't need it. But it's still the 1% that you want to add to your asset to really elevate it a tiny bit more. So I think now we go to the growth effect. Growth effect means you always have younger leaves on the outside of a plant. These leaves have usually more vibrant colors, different translucency values, and you can adjust them. Most of these things are already preset for you. If we felt it is necessary for the plant, you can change the height. You can mask out the twigs, because maybe sometimes you don't want to add like a little bit of a brightness to a branch that will not change or that will not have this effect. So for example, the hazelnut on the right side, you don't want to have this effect on the branches, you only want to have it on the leaves. That's why, again, the masking out the branches. And that looks like a very realistic color, Simon. You have picked wisely. And the last little feature that I would like to showcase is the color variation. So color variation, fairly simple to be honest. We use either the vertex color green or vertex color blue. You either have like it changing per individual seeded object, or on the left side you have it per individual component of the plant. It's really up to you. It's like a lerp in between 3 colors. So it first goes to, I think I set up something like yellow, and then it goes to brown, but really feel free to just pick whatever float value you feel like using. Vector value. Simon, I think we are ready to break things. I made all of these features to actually know how can I actually break them and make something different. So let's go around the corner and take a look what we have here. So, according to our content director, alien plants. We want to have alien plants on the library because they are good, I don't know. We didn't get the budget to fly to somewhere to actually scan them. So we will quickly demonstrate you what you can do with the stock shader that we ship with Fab. All of these 2 examples that I've quickly made are done with the default shader with not doing any adjustments to the shader whatsoever. So Simon, feel free to use the color scheme behind you of the Unreal Fest to quickly make something that looks good. So here we just the color of the leaves, the branches. Yeah, looks fantastic. Completely realistic plant now. Growth effect might be cool to add quickly to make the tip of the plant a little bit more, yeah. And last but not least, let's add some season to it. And obviously don't use the realistic season colors, but rather use the, I don't know, find a color. Yeah, oh, that looks cool. Oh yeah, alien plant, done, 1 minute. Obviously that doesn't really work very well with like very iconic plants because you have the color and you have the shape. If you don't know the shape, then you can obviously turn it into an alien plant. If the shape is fairly iconic, I guess most vegetation artists would look at the plant and be like, that's not made from scratch. That's just reusing some weird assets. So Simon, let's push it a little bit forward, turn off the lights, and let's take a look how far we can break it further. So, emissive alien plants, because why not? Here I use vertex color alpha to quickly just mask out the emissive color mask based on height. Then this Christmas tree, I honestly just put the shader values right, left. I think they run out of bounds. I did like that they do look like a Christmas tree. In the middle we have this, I thought I want to do like some kind of burning something bush. So and all of these features are just using, like for example, the health mask. And just instead of using the realistic colors, we just assign some random colors and we simply say, hey, I want to have this mask as an emissive mask. For example, this taro, that might actually look pretty cool in a level. If you have like just the underside of a leaf glowing, and then you have some kind of pathway in a dark forest on your alien planet. And then on the right side, you have some, more emissive alien plants. I've done all of this in like less than half an hour, but just really hacking together shaders. So it's really not that difficult if you know what you're doing, and I know the shader pretty well. But in the end, it's just playing around with the masks and the materials that we have provided for you. So just a quick question, who would be interested in the future to see like a really big breakdown of like how can you hack content into making them into, I don't know, alien type of plants? Okay, that will make somebody in the company happy, not us two. Okay, and with that, I would give it back to Simon to talk about the what's next part. And
so yeah, as seen in the keynote, there are major efforts ongoing on foliage on multiple fronts. So we'll definitely share more in the coming months. But on the content side, we'll be working on getting more packs out on Fab, and working more on trees, of course. We'll also do more guides and tutorials moving forward, how to kind of use our content. And yeah, we'll keep expanding on all this throughout the year. We will also cover these kind of newly revealed features in more detail as well, of course. So Nanite assemblies, how we plan to utilize this to lower the disk and memory footprint of assets of high complexity. More in depth on voxels, how this enables us to kind of render vast distances without popping or the need for the imposters. We'll also share more details around the skeletal and skin foliage as well for wind. And yeah, let us know what you need. Check out our roadmap, follow this link, and submit your own ideas.
And if that QR code is not working in the future, just Google Quixel roadmap, and you will find that link.
I think with that, that's what we had for today.